Through the exploration of several mediums of social media, such as Facebook and Twitter, this video will explore the ways in which the internet has altered the power dynamics of the feminist movement, perhaps embodying the dynamics of power as described by Karl Marx.
I don't know that it's so much a generational divide between feminists as there are just different modes of feminist thought. But it just struck me as really odd that there were all of these conversations going on about what young women were up to. Were young women having too much sex? Were young women politically apathetic? Are young women socially engaged or not? And whenever these conversations were happening, they were mostly happening by older women and by older feminists. And maybe there would be a younger woman quoted every once in a while, but we weren't really a central part of that conversation. We weren't really being allowed to speak on our own behalf.
Feminists of the 21st century are in the process of redefining feminism, expanding the structure and making feminism more individualized than ever before. The main tool of action in this cultural shift is the use of technology, where the popularity and prevalence of social media ideas are being spread online today, more than ever before. Over 75% of households in America have access to the internet, making the web arguably the most effective mode of communication. However, though the internet being accessible to many, it is still not a privilege held by all. One may argue then, through a Marxist lenses, that the power within the feminist movement is parallel to the power in a capitalist society, a society in which power is held by the elite and those in control of the means of production. The means of production in this case of cyberfeminism would be access to the internet, which produced the modern-day ideologies of feminism.
I think there are a couple of dangerous myths surrounding feminism. I think the idea that feminism is dead is dangerous because it leads women and men to believe that they don't have to do anything, that the work has been done, that everything is okay now, and two, it leaves them kind of alone, I think, in a struggle, and that's something I've seen a lot when I go to colleges and I speak to young women. They know that something is off. They know that the world is a messed up place. They know that the world is a sexist place because they've had experiences in their own life. They see things happening to their friends, to their parents, but because feminism isn't widely accepted, because they don't necessarily have access to feminist thought or to feminist groups, they don't necessarily have a language to put behind the feelings and the thoughts that they're having, and they certainly don't have a support system to let them know, like, hey, that's okay, you're right, that is screwed up. And I think that's really a terrible, horrible thing, and that's part of the reason why I think making feminism accessible to more people is so important.
A common critique of feminism is that it is commonly exclusionary. Most often, one can point to how race and class discrimination have played a huge role in the feminist movement. With this growth in cyberfeminism, there is still a group of feminists and potential feminists that are left outside of the movement. With so much emphasis on the instantaneous trade of feminist information and opinions through online forums, feminists who do not have access to these virtual spaces are excluded from the growth of the movement.
That blogging and the internet has completely changed feminism forever, I think. It used to be, 10 years ago, if you wanted to have a strong, influential voice in the feminist movement, you really needed to be part of this New York, DC elite, group of feminists or part of a mainstream feminist organization. And now it's kind of an amazing thing that you can just start a blog and put your voice out there and build a readership. I know I certainly, you know, wouldn't be writing books if it hadn't been for the feminist blogosphere. And I think that's a really amazing thing. And just the sheer power of outreach, I think, is incredible. It used to be that if someone was to get involved in feminism, it was probably because they were already interested. They were already interested in feminism, they were already interested in being an activist, and they found their way to like a now meeting or to a consciousness raising group or something like that. What we find a lot on Feministing is a lot of our readers kind of came to us by accident.
In conclusion, though the internet is not accessible to all, feminism as a whole has become more accessible and has progressed to a very individualized movement. One's feminism can differ very much from the feminism of others. Feminism no longer comes hand in hand with a how-to guide. One's identity as a feminist comes in all forms. We live in a time in which your feminism is malleable. You can shift it and recreate it to fit your ideas and your means.